Representative Beyer.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and Mr. Ranking Member. I appreciate this, and really important topic, and I'm fascinated by it. Let me quote our president right now, who said that said many times, "The middle class built America, and unions built the middle class." And what we've seen as union membership has gone down over the last 50 years, the income gap has grown ever larger between the average American and the top, and our middle class has gotten smaller and smaller. And you hear virtually every article talks about how many people feel the American dream isn't reachable anymore. So, Mr. Eichhorst, how do we stimulate
that grows union jobs well is project labor agreements. To have some of these that include registered apprenticeship programs. I've seen individual companies come from all over the United States, and they'll set up shop and they'll say, we've got an apprenticeship program. There's no program set in place. There's no standards set in place. There's no way that these students are advancing, but they call it a registered program. The registered apprenticeship programs that are approved by the government, that are actually looked at and were audited quite often, they do require certain steps. You have to pass certain, either it's an ability test or a written test. There's always methods to this. Once you can pass these, you continue to move on. Having those in place helps a ton. That really does require more apprentices. We can have 1 million jobs out there, but if these jobs don't have a way to require apprentices, how are we going to train these individuals to fill these jobs? Our workforce right now in the state of New Mexico, in my local union, our average plumber or pipe fitter is 50 years old. Yeah. Who in the heck should still be working hard in the field at 50 years old? We've got to start training our replacements. That's one of my biggest issues. And when we require the registered apprenticeship programs with these legislations or with these bills, that helps train our, I'd say the next 20, 30, 40 years of workforce. That will allow us to get into some of these government agencies and say, look, you're doing a great job training these kids that might have dropped out from. We jump in there, we help them out, we get them through the basics. Once they get through the basics, if they choose to get in an apprenticeship program, that's great. The demand will be there. They will need more apprentices. So the more legislation we can include registered apprenticeship programs, and that's a nice thing. It's both sides. Registered apprenticeship programs are all
to the federal investment in new technologies in terms of what you see the jobs are that are coming?
So we like any jobs. We love to build, whether it's green technology, whether it's old technology. If we are taking an old coal burner down, or if we're remodeling an old coal burner plant in the United States, that's still work for us. We love work. The building trades, and especially the UA, we love all construction. And as it turns more green or more environmentally friendly, we're keeping up with those technologies. We love work. We love more and more. The more that happens around the country, the more plants that are built, the happier we are and the more men and women we can put to work.
Great, thank you. Let me pivot to Dr. Holtz-Eakin, who's no stranger here. Doctor, you wrote that the majority of the occupations listed aren't specific to the solar power industry, and that, and certainly my own experience in the retail automobile business is that most of our technicians come with, maybe they had some training in the military, occasionally they had a tech school, but mostly the manufacturers put them through years and years of training. Every quarter somebody's gone for a week learning how to do automatic transmissions or whatever. What implication does this have as we struggle with meaningful trade assistance, trade adjustment assistance? We know that trade agreements and technology have displaced so many workers. We don't seem to have gotten displaced workers.
I would concur with the finding, right? We really have not had a successful trade adjustment assistance program in the United States, in part because it's centered on the establishment, and the establishment being raising his hand saying, we're suffering from trade competition. These workers are going to lose their jobs because of it. They're now eligible for TAA. That's not looking at the person. That's looking at the current occupation and the current establishment. And in fact, the federal training programs do their worst when they're trying to figure out the specific skills for the future that people need.